Warriors Unite! Back with an episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are conquesting yourselves and then therefore things around you under God's rules and purposes. Back with another episode. I haven't done one for a couple days. I was going to do one Sunday. Didn't get a chance to. But here we go. So we'll do some shout outs before we actually go ahead and do it. Hope you guys are doing well. Brother Boldly, thank you, my friend. Antonio, Cisko, Arano, thank you, my friend. Tobe von heirseele, thank you. Remington, tufflips, thank you, my friend. I'm glad we could help. We talked about you don't need approval from anybody, and that's very true. You don't need approval from anybody. As I've gotten older, I've recognized that. Now, you don't want to mistake kindness and empathy and being empathetic as compared to weakness. There's times you have to be both, and as a man you need to do that. But don't ever become weak, and that's what you don't want to do. Jon the Dawn, thank you, my friend. Lightening the Dark, thank you. George Jetson, you're right. Women do crave strong men, and you may argue with them, and sometimes it's not good to sit there and argue with women, but they will respect that. Because women respect people who just don't, bow down to them because they look beautiful or they're tempting and things like that, and you want to sleep with them. Men will do anything for women, and you don't ever want to be in that kind of situation. So they will respect. Now, they may not always like it, but they will respect men who are strong, and especially men on a purpose, and they have thinking something going, especially if you're not giving attention to those women and you're giving attention to yourself and the goals, and that's important. Brother Boldly, again, thank you, my friend. Official music, thank you. Antonio, Keith Bell, or Ball, I think it is. A knowledgeable person is very difficult to control. You're right. This is one of the reasons why I've been doing this all these last few years, because I really want to kind of talk about the knowledge that I got over the years and share that with other people. Now, you may not agree. You may disagree. We've had those before. A lot of people doing that. I don't really take it personally. I'm just kind of providing my perspective and ideas, certainly on semen retention and on self-control and stoicism as we go along. So, but Keith, thank you for your comment. Angel, yes, listen to your inner voice. I agree with that 100%. Zoomo, thank you. Alvin and Jon the Dawn. Good. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. We're going to do some more. I'm going to catch up on a bunch of the last few weeks as well as we do this. All right, so Kevin Kim, shout out to you, my friend, had a great topic. And we should have done this on Sunday. We just didn't get a chance to. But let's talk about religion and semen retention. So what is the connection with the two? So when we look at religion, warriors, it's important to understand that, in my opinion at least, this is once again Vigor Warrior 2's opinion, human beings need to have some understanding of the world around them. And I say that because if you think that everything revolves around you, in my opinion, you're delusional. You're delusional, because that's what I felt for many years. And that's what a lot of self-indulged, self-absorbed, selfish people believe, that the world revolves around them. And it could be the furthest thing from the truth. God uses us in different ways, and we have to recognize that there's a God. And all of you guys who are paying attention and looking at this and listening understand that. So I don't have a need. It's like talking to the choir. You guys know that there's a God. But for some of you who may not understand or think about that, first thing you have to do is understand that there is something higher than you are. We have to. We are very small in the world itself. There's thousands of people in the world, and we all have different energy levels and things that we see. And so the key is to recognize that there has to be some order or something that we follow. So in a lot of cases, what people over the centuries have done is they follow gods. They know there's a God. Now they've taken the different gods, whether you're talking about the Egyptians or the Romans, Assyria, if you're talking about the Incas, the Mayas, they all have different gods. Now this is why I always look at you guys and say, whoever your creator is, whoever you believe it is, I believe is Jesus Christ. That's my opinion. But I'm not going to ever judge somebody on a different viewpoint because you believe in a creator. You believe in something that's higher than you. And that to me is important. So because that's important, now we're looking at then having some sort of understanding of the world. And whether you believe the Bible, which I talk about, or the Quran, or some other types of religious texts, you're listening to an organized type of thought about the world. And we all need that, because one of the things that human beings I have found need over the years with my studies in communications and psychology and all the things I've learned through all the education that I've had is basically that people, we go back to the same old thing, people need to have some letter of order. They have to feel like there's an order. If there's chaos, and some people can live through chaos, but not all the time. At times they can. But they got to have some order even in the chaos. People try to look for order in everything they see. They try to figure out, what does this really mean? Why is this happening to me? And so religion is a perfect vehicle for that, especially if you view your viewpoint and you're very strong and you have a strong belief in your God. That's important. I'm not talking about people who just go to the mosque, the church, the temple, and they fake and they don't really believe down deep in their heart. You have to really believe in your creator, your God. You have to believe in that, because that means that you're taking yourself out of the picture. What I mean by that is that you're not going to be warriors. You're not going to be the center of the universe. You are just another person in the universe, but you are trying to fit your creator's role. Your creator is all powerful, and that's the person that gives you the strength inside and all the energy, and created a temple for yourself, which is your body. This is why you take care of your temple. And I don't care if you're 20, 30, as a lot of our viewers are, or 60 in my case, 63, 62, 63. We have to take care of our body as long as we can, the best way we can. Have I been perfect over the years? Of course not. Lots of things, too much bad foods over the years. I just lost 60 pounds over the last couple of years. So to me, I had to go through all of that. But there is a plan that if you believe in it strongly and you have faith that it's good for you and it's working for you and it works for the people in your life, and you feel that joy and happiness and peace inside, it doesn't matter what's happening on the outside. That's why we talk about that we have two different worlds here. You have the spiritual world, which you believe in strongly in, and then you have the physical world, in which that's what's happening on the outside. Images, ideas, things on television, things on the internet, people walking around with different ideas, attitudes, all this sort of thing. That's of the world. And Satan loves that world. But Satan is not like the spiritual world, because that God is in front of that, and God knows what Satan's doing. And Satan is trying to get you away from the spiritual world into just the physical world. And that's why if you watch TV too much, the internet too much, you start acquiring those values, and that soaks yourself in, and now you don't spend time in the Bible, you don't spend time, in church and those type of things. And that's a battle I've had for many, many years, as we all do, trying to stay away from those tempting things that get us away from God instead of towards God. And we have to continue to be with God. And I always remember it every time that I go back to the Bible in the morning, or in church sessions, or even masses at the school that I'm with. All those type of things are wonderful, because then they bring you back closer to God. And I happen to work in places that have a very spiritual background, and so it's always a reminder every time I see a cross, everything I see is a perfect type of way to keep me focused on my God. Now, how does this affect retention? How does this affect everything else you do? Well, God is your temple. God has given you the temple, your body. All the energy you have comes from God. And you see this because I know we've just had a dog who we had to fix, a puppy dog. And the puppy dog had tremendous amount of energy, just like we do without retention, when we have retention, right? But then they got fixed, and as cats and dogs get neutered, all that type of thing, they become weak. Now, I didn't do this myself, but we had a friend of mine did it to one of their animals, and I saw it. It began. They had reasons for the way they did it, and we, of course, we see that reasons all the time. You don't want to have multiple types of animals running around. There's a lot of reasons why people do it, but just remember that once you start neutering animals, just like people in certain ways, all of a sudden they become docile. They become weak because you're taking away energy that God has given that animal. In our case, it's not only you can obviously have operations for that, but we are self-inflicting ourselves. Males are self-infliction. Now, females do the same thing, but in different ways. But I'm focusing really on the males right now. Males, we self-inflict ourselves. We basically are kind of self-neutering ourselves most of the time. The more we do this stuff with the pornography, the more we do this with imaging and releasing energy, all this kind of stuff, the more we're neutering ourselves. Because that energy God is giving us is acting like this crazy puppy that I saw before they got neutered. It's almost like a 100-degree difference between what they were neutered and not. It's because they become docile. So the religious part of the retention is the fact that you're saving God's energy, and you're saving it to do God's purposes. You get tremendous energy, tremendous benefits. You're very rarely sick, and even if you do get sick, you overcome it really quickly. Because of all the energy you're keeping in yourself, you're not just using it. And even the psychological stress is better. You're not as stressed out. You're not as anxious because you have retention. So for those of you who keep going back and forth like I did for 47 years, you understand and realize that this is something God has given you, and this is something that you use to benefit yourself. God wouldn't have created it unless it was something that was so powerful that's going to help you. Now, we've been brainwashed in society thinking it's okay to release anytime you want to, and it's actually a glorious thing. Well, it's not a glorious thing. It's the opposite. It sucks you up like a zombie. It sucks you up like a vampire sucker. Now, there's reasons to do it, and we know this. Procreation. Having children, perfect reason. And that's what God has given us for. But we abuse it, and like I said, it's self-neutering ourselves in many ways when men do this over and over again. They're losing their energy, and they are basically kind of focusing on not achieving goals. They're lazy. They become tired. They do nothing, and then they end up doing other things like, playing video games all day, and they go into activities that are just as that way, and they have no energy. And this is why, from a societal standpoint, people are worried about us defending our country against other foreign entities, or even within, because we have no powerful males. All our males are sitting there, self-neutering themselves, and sometimes wanting to be females, wanting to do this and that, but they're not really going ahead and being those men who are going to protect and provide. And this is why you have to be keeping your energy, no matter what's happening around you. People around you could be, slacking off, doing all kinds of other stuff, being lazy, but you are following a guide. Your God has given you that energy. There's a reason why he's giving you that energy. Not to just use it, throw it on a bed anytime you want to, or put it into a woman's body. If you're not really going to have intimacy or have any sort of children with that woman, what is the purpose you're doing it? Just for a little release? Yeah, it feels good for a short period of time. Of course it does. But then you feel guilty and you feel weak and you've lost something. And I think we've talked about this before. It takes 60, 70 days to build more semen up. The idea, guys, is that you want to keep that energy inside of you. You don't want to lose that energy. And you want to focus on building yourself to the best person possible for God, for your God. And that means achieving goals, having goals set, whether it's physical, psychological, spiritual. Live in a spiritual world more than you live in a physical world. And you'll realize that a lot of the stuff we talk about here makes sense from a spiritual standpoint. It may not always make sense from a physical standpoint because the world's telling you something different. You go on there and say, oh, you're going to have this kind of problem when you don't release. You're going to be high anxiety. You're going to have, you go crazy. And that's not the case. People have been doing this for thousands of years and they know it. But What they want to do is go ahead and control you to the point of saying, okay, you need to have more pills, you need to do this, you need to do that. And all of a sudden now you're buying products, now you're doing other things because people are telling you that you're not good enough without this type of artificial help. We're seeing more and more now, however, people going to more holistic, back to the old days, holistic type treatments. And I couldn't be happier. People are kind of waking up and realizing all this stuff that all these big pharma and everything else is talking about, they're losing ground. They're losing their popularity. Because the bottom line is people realize that the body is stronger than they think it is, especially when you're keeping your energy. When you're keeping your energy, you can heal very quickly. And you can live a long time as long as you make sure that you're transmuting this energy and that you're not shooting it out and blowing it out every time you get a chance. This is what some of these guys do. And unfortunately, some of these young men at 20 years old already have dysfunction. That's incredible, but it's not unheard of, because what's happening is people are just releasing and learning how to do this at a young age, and all of a sudden now they can't function. Their brain becomes like mush, and they don't really understand what they're doing to themselves because society's telling them and they're believing it. And I go back to the idea, I believe a lot of it goes back to not having a lot of strong male role models. But that's another topic for a different time. But the idea is that all you guys out there, warriors, thinking about this, just realize every time you release, you're giving up something God has given you as his gift. Now, when do you do that? Of course, procreation. If you're going to have children, that's great. I have 3 of myself. But the idea is, if you're not going to do it for procreation, what in the world are you doing this for? A little pleasure? The idea is, guys, it becomes deadly for you in the long run, because your body resistance goes down, your ability to fight sickness goes down, all these things happen. And no matter what's happening around you, could be viruses, things like that, you are strong enough to fight it all because you keep that energy. And it goes back down to the fact that you believe God, you have faith in God, your God, that God is going to support you and that God is going to be your rock and foundation. And what you're doing, your purposes is for God's purposes. And so my recommendation, warriors, is get together with your creator, your God, and figure out what is your purpose. It took me a long time to figure out my purpose is to help younger people. And so I'm doing that. I love it. But it took a long time to figure that out. A lot of ups and downs. And a lot of you are going through ups and downs to figure out exactly what your God's purpose is for you. But listen in your inner voice, because that's what God is talking to you. Get away from all of this noise disruption. I would recommend meditating, praying in the Bible in the morning. Do things where God is talking to you and focus on that inner voice and figure out, what is it I'm doing? Am I on the right track or the wrong track? And can I move myself on the right track? And what do I got to do that? And I think that there is the key in building your faith and religion. And obviously you're doing that through things like retention, and then of course other behaviors that are going to be self-discipline, self-control, and things like that. All right, my friends, warriors, it's always good to talk to you guys. Hope you guys are continuing doing well. Conquest, keep on your purpose, keep strong, build that faith, build that connection with your creator, and you can't go wrong because you're on the right track. In my opinion, I give you my humble opinion, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life, besides my wife and my kids and my family and my God. And I think that's a great thing to have for you to build on. I don't care if you're 20, 40, 60, or whatever it might be. My recommendation is never lose God in your life, and never lose the idea of retention, self-control, discipline in all aspects of your life, and setting goals. All right, my friends, 2 things I always leave you guys with, as I usually do. 1, every day is a new day to a great warrior. And number 2, guys, continue to, it's coming, battle!